long, long time ago, there was a little brown mouse who lived on the mainland in San Francisco, California. His name was William, but everyone called him Matson. They called him Matson because his very favorite thing in the whole world was to watch Matson Line steamships at Pier 35. The big white ships carried hundreds of people far away to Hawaii and somewhere called the South Seas. The furthest Matson had been from home was Oakland, across the bay. And for anyone who's been to the Bay Area, Oakland's okay, but it's not quite Hawaii. So Matson often dreamed about going to the South Seas. Every Saturday, he watched the ships from his secret hiding place. He loved the salty sea air and the feel of the breeze tickling his whiskers. There was nothing better. No one in San Francisco understood Matson, not his friends, his classmates, or any of his family. They preferred scavenging tasty treats in Chinatown, foraging in Golden Gate Park, or sneaking rides on the Powell Street cable car. What's so great about Matson Line ships anyway, asked Baldwin the Mouse. Yeah, added Alexander the Mouse, and the bait is for seals, fish, and seagulls, not mice. You can't even swim. Someone who understood was Matson's best friend, Strux the seagull. He was from Hawaii and often crossed the Pacific with Matson liners as they steamed between Honolulu and San Francisco, gliding along in their trailing air currents. Strux swooped up and down watching the passengers on board the ship. Some relaxed by the pool, others played tennis or shuffleboard. Sprux's favorite part of the whole voyage was the breakfast buffet on the pool terrace. When no one was looking, he scooped a few treats for Matson, like a Hawaiian sugar cube or a freshly baked guava Danish. You couldn't get food like this from a back alley garbage can in Chinatown. One Saturday, Matson rode the F-Line trolley to Pier 35 to see his favorite Matson liner, the SS Lurleen, returning from Hawaii. As tugboats pushed her into the pier, Strux flew down from the bow with a present and an idea. Next time the ship comes in, would you like a tour, he said. I could try to sneak you on for a few hours before sailing time. And Matson thought that sounded like a splendid plan. Strux told Matson again of all the wonderful things on board. He could show him his favorite hideaway too, Lifeboat 4, the safest place for a stowaway seagull. The night before the Lurleen was due in San Francisco, Matson couldn't sleep. He was so excited he woke up before sunrise. He scampered down to Pier 35 and watched the Lurleen sail under the Golden Gate Bridge. In a few hours, he was going to board the ship. Matson watched as the passengers came ashore. He looked up to lifeboat number 4 to wave to Strux, and Strux wasn't there. That's strange, Matson thought. I wonder where he could be. Maybe Strux was having a nap in the lifeboat, but Matson was really worried. Even though mice were not allowed on the ship, Matson decided he must get aboard to search. But he would have to hurry because the Lurleen was about to sail to Honolulu. How would he get on board? The nearest deck was way up high. If he fell, Matson didn't know how to swim. He knew he could climb up the ropes because they had mouse catchers around them, and he had heard that the captain kept a rusty gun near the bridge in case of trouble. But then he had an idea. Passengers threw streamers across the pier. Rolls of colored paper that stretched all the way from the deck to the dock. If he timed it right, he could scurry up along one of them. Would the streamers be strong enough to hold him? They were. He made it. Matson ran up the stairs and along the rail, making sure no one would see him. But just as he was about to climb into the lifeboat to look for Strux, the Lurleen's whistle blasted. Guess what? I have a ship's whistle here to show you guys. This isn't a real ship's whistle, but it kind of sounds like one if I blow it. So do you guys think it would be okay if I blew the ship's whistle? Yeah? Okay, I'll do it sort of quietly, and then if you want me to try it louder, I can do it louder, okay? Ready? Do you think I can do it louder than that? Yeah? How about a little bit louder than that? Okay, this is going to be the loudest one. So that's what the ship's whistle sounded like. And when Matson heard that, he nearly jumped out of his fur. Oh no, he thought, 3 blasts of the ship's whistle means the ship is sailing. I better get off. So Matson began to slide down a long red streamer. He could hear the ship's orchestra on the deck playing Now Is the Hour. Because on those ships in the old days, they had a band playing just like Kavika and Lehua over here, playing as the ship sailed. Then came the 3rd blast of the whistle. He was too late, the ship was moving. Tugs pushed and pulled the Lurleen away from the dock. Matson looked down, and all he saw was seawater swirling around. Yikes! Matson scampered back up to the promenade deck. What would he do? The ship was on its way to Hawaii. What would his mom and dad say? It looks like curtains for me, Matson thought to himself. Before he knew it, the ship had turned around and was heading to sea. They passed Alcatraz, then the Golden Gate Bridge, and Marin Headlands. Matson was scared. He decided to take shelter in lifeboat number 4. And if you kids look really closely, you can see a tiny little mouse sitting on the lifeboat on the bench. The Lurleen turned southwest. The coast of California got smaller and smaller until he could see no land at all. As the daylight faded, the waves grew and the big ship creaked and shuddered as it went up and down. Matson was cold and his tummy felt dizzy. He missed his family and he didn't know what to do. After a windy and rough night, the sky cleared and the Lurleen's heavy rocking turned into gentle rolls. Matson peeked out from his hiding place in the lifeboat. Passengers and crew were walking around on the deck. Near the swimming pool, tables were piled high with food that looked and smelled delicious. Breakfast time. Sprex was still nowhere to be seen. There was also no land in sight, just the ocean waves and the bright blue sky as far as the eye could see. 3 more days passed. The ship cruised along at a brisk 20 knots. Matson searched everywhere for Sprex. He looked in the dining room, in the playroom, in the movie theater, in the cargo holds, and even on the bridge when the captain wasn't looking. Matson was beginning to wonder if he would ever find his flying feathered friend again. And now at this page of the story, there's another guest up here on stage who I haven't introduced you to yet. But someone actually painted all the drawings in this book, and her name's Robyn, and this is Robyn. So I'm going to pass the book to Robyn, and she's going to read it for you.
Hello everybody, my name is Robyn Drage. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to be reading a little bit more of the book and we'll pass it back to Duncan for the end. So that evening, as Matson watched the sun setting from the lifeboat, something small and shiny suddenly appeared next to him. Was it a bird? No, it was a fish with wings. Sprex had once told about these flying fish. They mostly stayed in the warm water near Hawaii, he said. They were one of the fastest creatures in the sea, and they could fly on top of the waves for a long way before needing to dip back into the water. By any chance is your name Matson? Yes, I'm Matson, but who in the thunder are you? The unusual creature reminded Matson of a mermaid fairy as she flapped her silvery fins and wings. His heart was still fluttering with surprise. She told him her name was Malolo, and Sprex was her friend too. He's in the ship's doctor's office, she said, but don't worry, he's okay. You can visit him there and he'll tell you what happened. Now I have to get back in the water so I can breathe again. She winked and smiled before disappearing into the waves next to the ship. Matson was so relieved. He scurried across the deck as fast as his little legs could go. He crept down the stairs to the doctor's office. The coast was clear, so he darted out of the door. Except for the usual rumblings and creakings of the ship, it was very quiet inside. Anyone here? Matson whispered. He heard the ruffling of some feathers. There on the hospital bed was Sprex. Sprex, it's me, Matson. I've been so worried. What happened to your wing? I was flying above the ship, like I always do, when all of a sudden a gust of wind blew me towards the smokestack, Sprex explained, showing Matson his bandaged feathers. I couldn't see or breathe, and I fell to the pool deck near the pool. Luckily, Leo, the deck steward, found me. He carried me here and woke me up with this fancy bandage. Just then, the door opened, and Cowie, the ship's nurse, came in to check on Sprex. "Good news, Mr. Seagull," she said, unwrapping his bandage. "Your wound is healed. I'll leave this portal open, and you can fly away when you're ready." Cowie placed a beautiful feather lei around Sprex's neck, and she kissed him on both cheeks. Then she said, "Aloha," a pleasant-sounding word Matson had heard passengers and crew saying around the ship. But what did it mean, he wondered. The lei smelled better than anything Matson had ever smelled before. After Cowie left, Matson asked Sprex, "What's aloha?" "It's a special Hawaiian word that means hello," said Sprex, "and also goodbye. And it's a nice feeling you get when you get to Honolulu." Matson didn't really understand yet, but he was just happy they were together again. Sprex and Matson spent the last night of the voyage inside Lifeboat 4, looking up at the billions of stars in the clear sky as the Lurleen steamed along. They enjoyed the Hawaiian music coming from the Polynesian Club. It was aloha night for the passengers who would be getting off the ship in Honolulu the next morning. Everyone was in a festive mood. Matson wasn't scared anymore. He was excited. Now the trip was even better than he'd imagined it would be. As the sun came up, the Lurleen approached the island of Oahu. There was Waikiki Beach and the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. Sprex was right. It really was a pink palace. It was so beautiful. Sprex told Matson that everyone in Honolulu came to the harbor when the Matson Line ships arrived. He was right. What a celebration. Some people welcomed home their family and friends. Others came just to say aloha to visitors and to see the big white ships full of happy passengers. All right, at this point, we're going to pass the microphone back, and Duncan's going to finish reading for you.
Thank you, Robyn. So tugboats pushed the Lurleen until it was tied up at the pier beneath the Aloha Tower. The Hawaiian breeze was much warmer on Matson's whiskers than the chilly fog of San Francisco. He didn't need his sweater anymore, so Sprex loaned him a Hawaiian outfit and some sunglasses. As passengers left the ship, they were presented with beautiful lei and happy Hawaiian greetings. Aloha, e komo mai. After the ship docked, Sprex and Matson made their way to the Royal Hawaiian, where most passengers from the ship stayed while visiting Honolulu. "Meet some of my island friends," Sprex said as they gathered on Waikiki Beach. Now, Matson had never seen any creatures like these before, because they don't have creatures like that in San Francisco, or anywhere else for that matter. One was Monty the mongoose, and the other was a gecko whose name Matson couldn't quite understand. Kalani Ka'umaka'a Mano, just like the famous Hawaiian queen. And I hope I said that close to something. So after a delightful day on the beach with his new friends, Matson was treated to a party at a wonderful feast called a luau. He enjoyed Kumu Kavika's ukulele music, a hula show, and a special Hawaiian drink. Now, does anybody in this room think they recognize the man playing the ukulele in that picture? I think it might be our friend Kavika over here. So, Kavika, if you want to come up and do a little song for what you might hear in a luau. Hawaiian Hotel in luau. And Matson was served a special Hawaiian drink made from pineapple, banana, guava, mango, and something delicious called lilikoi. Matson was beginning to understand the meaning of aloha. When the luau was finished, Matson curled up in a small hammock and wrote a postcard to his family in San Francisco. "Don't worry," he said, "I'll be heading home when the next ship sails from Honolulu," he wrote. In the distance, he heard 3 blasts of the Lurleen's whistle. And I think, as you guys probably remember, that means the ship is sailing. The Lurleen was on its way back to California. But Matson wasn't worried because he knew that Matsonia would be in Honolulu in a few days. He couldn't wait for his next adventure. Aloha. And that is the end of Matson the Mouse.